Hello again, and we are back. This time we are working with SYNTH 1. This is my favorite plugin of all time because it's really flexible. So, first things first, if you want to know how to do the colors and various things, the first thing you got to do is go to OPT, which is options, of course. You set your sound banks here, which you have to do. Set your initial sound bank to where you installed it, like mine is CVST Synth 1 sound bank 00. Don't ask about the second bank yet, I'll get to that in a later video. Your panel size is dependent on how big you want for it to be on your screen. I have mine at 160, and this is a 16 by 9, literally 1600 by 900 resolution monitor. Then also I have my folder for my zip files. You can change the tuning here. It's not important, but if you want to just slightly make it a little, flat or a little up, you can do it right here, and it's very, very fine-tuned. It's very, very accurate. Now, to get the colors to how I have mine, because normally they don't look like this. They look like this. Eek. Just click those on and put in 9C 3 times and 2E 3 times. 9C on the panel, so it's 9 hash. It's words. It is pound 9C 9C 9C, and then on text it's pound 2E 2E 2E. I do have that slider window open, but that's because I'm like that. I really enjoy it. I don't like select program from host, even though it's great if you're doing like really advanced MIDI stuff, which if you already know how to do that, then great, just turn that on and you can swap your patches in no time flat. Otherwise, you just ignore it. So, voila! I like it like this because it looks more hardware. Now, we're going to take this patch and we're going to initialize it. How? You don't. So what we're going to do... Oh yeah, before I forget. Let me just show you the basics of what this is. This is the version 1.3. I will update this program. If I update the... If the guy updates the software, I'll update it and you'll probably see the slight change as a part of a review in a few days or so after I've checked it out and read the changelog and tested things out. But for now, for now, let me show you what it is. So, what we have here is a virtual analog synthesizer. What does that mean to you? That means that it does synthesis. And it sounds analog, as close to analog as you can get on a computer. So, what do we have here? Oscillators 1 and 2. No 3 this time. There's a reason for it. This synthesizer is based off of an actual physical synthesizer somewhere in the world. I don't know. I think it's a Nord something or other. I can't quite recall. But either way, here's what you need to know. Is that oscillator 1 has 4 waveforms, and oscillator 2 has 4 different ones. They're mostly the same, except one has a sine, the other one has noise. Oscillator 1 has a sine generator, oscillator 2 has a noise. Now what's this sub thing? It's actually a sub-oscillator. So if you want to have, I'll initialize it in a moment, but it adds an octave down or on the same octave, another oscillator, just pure. It bypasses almost everything except for the synthesis part of it. So we have those, and we have our master key shift, which is basically, if I hold down a note on my keyboard, it moves the key around, so if you make something out of tune, you can retune it there, and also here with the tune knob. You also have your pulse width, which works on the square waveforms. You have the phase and a mix. The mix just mixes between 1 and 2. The sub is mixed right here with its own knob. Here you have a mod envelope, which I'll get to much, much later, but let's say it does some really amazing stuff. Next you have the amplifier section, which tells you basically how it's going to play the sound. Like, as you can hear, it has a nice, interesting attack. Soft. Sharp. You have a decay, which means when this thing hits, when the attack hits its top, the decay starts it decaying from. It's a matter of time between the top of here and where this is. So. And I swear that knob has always been the It's always been the death of me. Then you have the sustain, which is the sustaining volume. You have the release, which, if you set it to nothing, you get that weird trippy effect. If you set it to the max, I can clap my hands and it'll still go for quite a while. Then you have the master gain and the velocity sensitivity. I'll get into that again later. Next you have the filter, which has another ADSR. That's what these are called, obviously, because of the simple type of attack, decay, sustain, release, and an amount knob in this case, because this is the filter. Which has the frequency the cutoff frequency. It has the resonance, which I'll get into later. The saturation, which I'll just quickly tell you it's a distortion, so I can just go. It's like a output distortion. It's quite nice, actually. You have the track, which it tracks how where it is on the keyboard, and you have a velocity switch, which when it's turned on, depending on how hard you hit the key, or how, how this is, if it's soft, it's going to be soft. If it's going to be high, it's going to be high. And that determines the filter or the volume, or both. So we have that, and then of course we have the types, which is two low-pass filters, a high-pass, and a band-pass. I'll tell you about that later. Of course, then we have our LFO, which I'll get into much more detail later, but what it does is it does modulation, and that will come later, as I told you. You have an arpeggiator, which basically takes your notes and it arpeggiates them. So let's say I have a chord like... That sounds kind of nice. That's what it does. And I ran out of keyboard space, which is why you didn't hear another note. Under that, you have the wheel and MIDI stuff, which is basically the how much pitch bend. I always keep it at 12 because, well, Synth most VST plugins in FL Studio have a weird glitch where it just morphs to from 12 to 2, and I like it like that, so I'm weird. Now what this is more modulation. I'll again get into that much later, but it gets really interesting with what you can do with it. Now we have the final section of this synthesizer, which will probably conclude this video because it's already running quite a while now. In fact, it's running 10 minutes. So we have the effect, which is a bunch of different effects. I'll tell you about those again later. You have the equalizer and pan, the tempo delay. It's a tempo-based delay, which is quite nice. A chorus flanger, which is another type of effect. And the voice section. The voice section basically dictates if it's if you can play multiple notes like so, or if you can play only one note. See, I can just smack it. In fact, here, let me bring this up over here. Here's poly. Here's mono. Here's portamento, which is basically glide between. It's a glide between the notes. You have legato mode, which has no real difference between that and mono, but if you turn auto on, it used to be the auto switch. Then you have basically unison and the polyphony. The polyphony says how many notes you can play, so as you can see I'm playing 3. You can tell because of the lights down here. If I set it to the max 32 and kick on unison, kick this all the way up to 8, this tells it how many more notes to play with a slightly different tuning or different phase or a different spread or a different pitch. So I'm playing 8 notes that are detuned quite a distance apart. It also makes it quite louder. And of course a master volume knob in case if you really have a really quiet preset. And it's only set to half, so believe me, this thing can crank. Anyways, wow. That took quite a while. But anyways, next episode you'll see I'll initialize the patch and I'll show you the basic one oscillator sounds you can make, which will really, really blow your socks off. Anyways, catch ya!